for today, for taking time preparing the talks and thinking, from your own background and research interests, how this philosophical thinking has been moving around transhistorically and transculturally. I think the day starts with a very exciting provocation from David Chai on whether cinematic image exists. I wonder if you have any comments at the end of the day, rethinking your question. So that's a question for you and for the rest of us, because Paul is not here. He's more from a contemporary art critical theory and art history context background, while most of us here are more from film studies, dealing with different issues of film philosophy and also from the specific cultural context films, genres, space that we talk about. I was just wondering how you, when you prepared the talk, your papers, and when you think also with your previous publications on Chinese philosophy, David, and your hands on Japanese amnistic thinking, and that on Samuel Weil and Rob's on Transcendentalism, whether you found, it is a challenging subject. What for you is the most challenging part, and what kind of questions or maybe suggestions you could offer, if we aim to move forward to welcome, Chinese film philosophies or different philosophical thoughts in China into the, realm of studies of film and visual art. Maybe, David, you have a response to today's workshop?
Well, I came here with no expectations, knowing that I'm the outsider. I never worked on cinema or film studies or whatnot. It was hard to choose a topic. I didn't want to limit myself to discussing a particular director, or producer, or actress, or actor, or even a specific film, because I know nothing of that. Of movies just to pass 1 hour, 2 hours on an airplane. Too busy to watch stuff. But to think philosophically, or philosophically in terms of aesthetics, if you want to do ontology or metaphysical thinking, for me, this discipline that you are all intimately familiar with, really it's like a black hole. I sucked right in, and there's so much to learn. It's like if you come into my world, you will maybe feel the same. Having said that, though, there is, with the discussions today, the papers presented and the questions asked, there's a surprising amount of overlap or crossover or common ground upon which, from which we can engage in dialogue. And I think that's a very rich opportunity for us, for you, to do this in the future. We were talking next year. My suggestion would be 2 days or 2.5 days, and it'd be great to have graduate students participate. This is the way we do things where I'm from. Graduate students always present 3 or 4 papers, and people from other areas, so not just me as the lone person from the philosophy department, but others, depending on the subject. So next time, if we do ecology or if we do film aesthetics or whatnot, then we can invite illustrators or animators, artists, not necessarily people trained in Daoism, but who have an appreciation. You don't have to be a specialist of an area in order to appreciate it, to have your own opinions on that. So that's something that I think we can work to accommodate. Although Daoism, the cinema didn't exist in ancient China or even pre-modern China didn't exist anywhere. But what I've learned is that you can think cinematically as a living thing. This is how we experience the world, perceptively or orally or through touch or whatnot. So it's a mode of self-expression. It's also a medium for self-exploration. Despite what I said, challenging all of you, I do think in certain instances, film can be very powerful. And it can be life-altering, global-shaping, world-shaping. My remarks were directed more towards people who take certain genres of film as being authoritative, or certain actors who are masters of their particular medium as superior. Nobody else can match them forever or whatnot. Of course, that's not the case. You have people who excel at what they do. It's in every discipline. But they should serve as role models for others. Not to be seen as like the peak and nobody can surpass that. This is, you study human history, this has been disproven over and over and over again. So what Daoism does, that Confucianism or Buddhism, or the reference to the Xiangxiang, which is the originator of the word imagination in China, thinking in images. The reference to elephant bones actually, ironically, is from the legalist text Han Feizi. It's not from Roundtable. So you have an authoritarian philosopher being the inventor of what will become known as imagination in China. This is, you want to talk about ironies, right? Yeah, so we can do any kind of approach. It doesn't have to be Taoist, but the advantage of using Taoism is that we can speak of ecology, we can speak of gender, we can speak of different personal spiritual beliefs. We can talk of life and death. We didn't talk about death today. This is a huge part of Taoism. Transformation that occurs in life, and death as the ultimate transformation. Confucianism, they don't talk about the dead. Buddhism, okay, reincarnation and so on. But in Taoism, it's all about regeneration and recycling things to be reused in other forms and whatnot. So in terms of cinema, this is massively rich in terms of possibilities for exploration. So I think we should certainly keep an element of Taoism in that, but also open up to other areas of philosophy, Eastern, Western, or generic, whatever, theoretical, if you like, scientific, engineering in terms of computer, whatnot. Yeah, because this is the new poetry. This is the new painting. This is the new sculpture. Right? It's cinema. This is the cutting edge of art. But we should not lose sight of the traditional arts of architecture, poetry, music, right? And maybe philosophy as well, because human thinking underlies everything, lies behind everything that we do. So we need to preserve that while exploring how cinema as essentially a limitless genre can help us fulfill our dreams, but also keep us grounded in reality. We don't get lost in fantasy. So these are things that I've taken away. It's a lot to say, yeah, but I've taken away from today, and I look forward to the next time.
Thank you, David. Thanks. And also, it's kind of an interesting way to welcome Chinese philosophers into the film studies circle, and also to see how we can, spark some, new thinking, new thoughts, and new directions. Yeah, we definitely touched, hint on the death, even from David's kilograms, this the light projection of Confucius, and Yuhan talk about tree bureau Yeah, and last time, Rob talked about grieving and how we deal with death. Yeah, very much in many Zhao's film, um, and how we deal with violence, how we deal with our self relationship with the world through this shown regeneration continuously. Yeah, coming. Yeah. Thank you. So for us, from the film studies perspective, yeah, what kind of challenges you face? Because I faced massive challenges throughout the years, different stages. Well, Paul was talking about, key concept you can rely on book. I don't think that's, completely a very reliable way, because then you were just like, there's no single dictionary of Chinese philosophy. This the thoughts, concepts has been built, regenerated, and through different philosophical traditions as well. Um, One question perhaps is how to use these references, including, concept books that, for example, David and your colleagues has been written, and how we make use of those books and bring them into Daoism. Yeah, that's my personal challenge, but of course, yeah, you might have any other different response.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting picking up on what you were saying, that we need to think carefully about our approach to filmmaking, for example, if we're following through on the philosophical idea. It's like what I was saying about the transcendentalists. It wasn't enough to have a moral imperative, you had to act on it. Otherwise it was meaningless in the abstract. And I think it's really interesting when we're approaching film as scholars. First of all, we have to recognize that film is a composite art, that it contains photography and music and sculpture and many other things. And because of that, I think, in my own experience, I only began to understand film after I started making it. Let me turn this into a question for David, because that will make more sense. And it's when you were thinking about making your video essay, did you get all your ideas in place and rigid, and then you made the film according to those ideas? Or did you begin editing, and you began to explore and see those ideas evolve in the editing itself? Of course, which one of those processes is more akin to, appropriate to, what you're studying, the Taoist practice?
I think that's a really nice question, and there's a little bit of both this evening, but I think that you have a sense of what you want to put in it. So it's like, you can use a cooking metaphor, and bear in mind that Chinese medicine is also Chinese food, to alchemy or something like that. You've got a sense of the ingredients you want and the pieces that you want, but in remediating them or playing with them, you see them, inhabit them differently. I think that the idea that we touch film, it touches us, and we see things and notice resonances, and the way in which it gathers together or wants to come together kind of suggests itself. Like that kind of. I knew I wanted the lesson of the meaning there, because it's a beautiful poetic thing with boxing, but in putting that there, it suddenly reminded me of this other one where we've got the tipping of the fire, and those two bits just kind of gravitated and we worked well together. And I don't know if the decision to make the Odo Confucius talk over works or not, but I think there's something about that material kind of guides you at some point.
Yeah.
You've got an intuition to put it together. And then sometimes when you're working with concepts and ideas, you're walking the dog and you suddenly go, oh, actually, I could do that. So I think it works on you and it's inside you and you punch. So, but I agree with you. I think that making films about film. So there's this Timothy Morton line. He says, writing about film is like dancing about architecture, and I think that is true. And making film about film is dancing about dancing. It's a dance-off, and it feels more intuitive and natural. And your intellect can go with your intuition, but there's something about that workflow, that workspace. That I was saying to Kiki, it's meditative. You think on material when it works on you inside out yourself. So the inner alchemy and outer alchemy can emerge in the process.
Yeah, that's my experience too. It's many times when I'm editing, I won't know what the next edit is, and I can't make sense of it. I'll, almost like shout at the screen, what do you want to do? Where do you want me to cut? And and we'll wait, and then the film will simply make sense in a way. You'll try something and it'll click, and you'll move on to the next one. Yeah. And that experience I found to be exhilarating and tremendously educative.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look back on all the old books I wrote and everything I wrote before I started making films,
Yeah.
and it's like it's so
Yeah.
artificial, it's abstract.
Yeah.
My writing since I started making films, I hope much better.
So maybe you're saying something like the Tao that is cinema cannot be written.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's,
It also reminds me of dancing when we're editing. We edit with material, massive amounts. There's lots there, but also there's nothing there until you put everything, make sense of it. And it reminds me of the word dance in Chinese and how that relates to death, Wang, originally, and the notion of the concept dance itself originally was dancing with the dead, the ghost, the non-being. You are playing with the other parts that's, you are not really, you can't really see, but, and then you're inviting that together to be part of the one.
It happens in writing too. You don't know what the next sentence is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, I think with filmmaking, it's really immersive in a way that perhaps exceeds writing, in my experience.
And that's so.
Oh, well, yeah, it's been it's kind of a wonderful crash course for me, Daoism, and I kind of am beginning to see that there's so much there. It's going to take me quite a while to get my bearing. A few things that popped out for me that I think we didn't cover, but we started to in the last session, are things around politics and connections between Victor's paper, but also really with your paper as well, because transcendentalism connects to American liberalism. I think most of the films that we talked about were white liberal films.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's something there that is kind of missing, perhaps.
It's not There's a whole chapter dedicated to Black American filmmaking,
Okay.
the concept of double consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, my point is that, I would love to maybe learn more about these connections between Daoism and systems of politics and systems of power. That's one thing. And then now that you were talking about maybe holding another event on ecology specifically, that I think would be really great as well. So maybe, kind of look at narrow, more specific topics in relation to Daoism.
Definitely. Yeah. Victor, we didn't forget you. You're here. Yeah. Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
can you hear me, Victor?
Hello, Victor.
Yeah, I can hear you. It's actually really clear.
Great. Fantastic.
I can do.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. Sure. Yeah.
Okay. You can hear me. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can hear. Yeah. I can hear you very clearly. I think in terms of I think there are two aspects. I could definitely I feel really resonating with a lot of how you have been talking about. I think one idea I find is that when I look at, for example, David Fleming's book on Confucianism in cinema, I really find that, and in my research on Buddhism and cinema, I really find that it's a very cosmological view. And when I say cosmological, I don't mean some nebulous concept or new agey concept. It's really they are systems of thoughts and knowledge building processes that really propose a very different way to think about ontology, epistemology, and ethics. And so I find that one brilliant thing I look at David Kiki's work, I really find that you can even pick a starting point. For example, Kiki picks a starting point, aesthetics, and David picks a starting point initially as the relationship between image, imagination, and language. And I take my starting point in terms of body and image, like in my previous work. And in this one, machine and human, like for example, like a lot of these ideas that you pick this starting point, then you become fully pulled into and find yourself engaged with the fact that if you want to think about that question thoroughly, it's not just about aesthetics, it's not just about image and semiotics, it's not just about body and image. It's really, you really need to put into question the whole how you build that, the body, how do you build that body of knowledge in the first place? I think what we are all doing in here, I think it's really important in terms of asking us the question of, it's a very advancing question on Asia's method. So the idea is that it's not only about let me give you something new to think about, or let me give you something that we can match with European philosophy. But we're really thinking about bodies of knowledge, a way of producing knowledge that have been proposed in China, or in terms of Buddhism, have been proposed in India, China, Tibet, Sri Lanka, a lot of different places, Japan. In that case, the idea is that how these processes can help us think about what is the problem with the way we have been thinking about film philosophy, filmmaking, or our relationship with the image, or our relationship with the machine, so to speak, and in some ways, what's wrong when we're thinking about why, I mean, our world is falling apart. I'm not going to be lying about it. And so the idea is that what's wrong with our, like, in what way the idea is that, what's wrong with our knowledge building process that actually drives us to, that we somehow, no matter how holistic and relational the way we're thinking, we somehow still get stuck in certain attachments of like to violence, and so I think that's a really important thing to think about. And that's why when someone asks me about, like, sorry, I keep talking with Kim and they guilty of not being here earlier, but also at the same time, I think the three of us talk very a lot together. And I do find that the ideas of whenever when I teach my students texts that were written by Kiki and by David, I really find that I always say that it's not just about knowing how Daoism can help us think about Chinese cinema, not only about Confucian ideas that are only related to Chinese cinema, but it's really a way of thinking about exactly what cinema is, or is not, for that matter. Yeah.
Thank you, Victor. Yeah, do you have anything?
Yeah, I definitely learned a lot today. Yeah, and I think it's still very important to think about like and more deeply, like further thoughts on what I've been doing today.
Yeah, very much this workshop is the beginning. One of the aim is really to open up questions and to make it, welcome all sorts of issues, complications, and see how we can go further. I think it's still too early to say, how we can make it systematically, because system requires a kind of reference. Well, in a way, Daoism just take a Daoism example is always recognize the importance of different thoughts through different referential systems. There's so many different systems from each our perspective. We can then enter into a way of thinking. So because we only have this space, till about 6-ish, we're very limited with our time. So later we'll have some drinks and snacks in the foyer, and we can continue this discussion and questions from all of you, and thank you very much for coming today. Thanks all the speakers. Yeah, it's really just to try to open up the whole conversation, and then we can brainstorm about the next workshop. And I hope more people can also come and join, and organizing as well is a lot of effort, I acknowledge. Yeah. Yeah, so
Thank you so much.
Volunteers as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Thanks all our volunteers, students today, for helping us today, like Wenzhou and Chloe and Iris has been very busy, and also Shuxian has been helping today as well. And Annette, for the support of film departments at Queen Mary.
Yeah, no, we're very lucky to have this project. It's brilliant. So hopefully the next time every staff member will be here.
Well, I hope so. Yeah, and next time, Victor, we want to see the real, want to touch you.
I can't say. That boy.
Okay. Thanks, David Chai, for being our keynote and give us very exciting new way of thinking cinema. I think that question still stay with us. Is India.
The timing is very fortunate because I was in Belgium on sabbatical since January. So I said to Kiki, before I go back to Hong Kong, I would want to come and see you. Well, I'm having this workshop. I actually leave tomorrow.
Oh. Yeah.
So the timing is very, very opportune. But as I said, I hope in 1 year from now, whatever that is, do this again, and I will come and see all of you, and we can have more time to speak of Taoist philosophy and Taoist art and ways of living in the Taoist point of view.
Yeah, and we'll also definitely take on these suggestions on make it maybe 2 days events, and welcome more graduate students, early research students, and people from different backgrounds, more interdisciplinary, to come and join the conversation. Okay, thanks for today.